Hi everyone, my name is Tshwane.
I am Natasha. I'm a third year student at Ga-Rankuwa.
Hi, my name is Makalwa.
And today we are here attending the IIASA Young Leaders Conference.
My expectations of this event will be to fun. You can see it's what I'm wearing, right? And to also know more about the profession of internal auditing. What is it like?
I hope to actually gather something that can help even the younger person that's looking up to me to go and do better.
Our topic for today, leaping ahead, mastering the transition to the workplace. As I was preparing for the topic, I was thinking about myself when I was in varsity, which is also a long time ago. I don't want to say the year and you also give that thing that you gave to Aline because you're like, yo. It was a long time ago, but I still remember when I was in first year, and I went into something like this that my bursary fund had organized. And one of the mentors and coaches, Adele Duplessis, who is now a very good friend of mine, said to us, I can see now you are at varsity. But then think about the future. And let's say you're about 40 years old now. And then you talk to someone and the person says to you, you know what? I see potential in you. She said, the moment you are over 40 years old and someone says to you, they see potential in you, find the nearest room, lock yourself and cry, right? And the reason for that is because she said, now you still have the opportunity to realize that potential, to really work on that potential, right? So then throughout those years, I was fortunate enough to get her coaching, her mentoring, and I was able to also get the other support. So that's why I'm grateful to be part of this initiative, because the IIASA Young University is providing such a support as well. So team, for our discussion today, then I'm going to walk you through this journey of Zanele before the Aramet and after the Aramet, right? It's really all about being able to leap, right? To take leaps so that one can realize their potential. And it starts with now, whether you are in first year, whether you're in second year or final year, the preparation of transitioning to varsity starts now. There's a difference between walking and leaping, right? So when we are walking, it's just step by step, we have our foot on the ground and just slowly taking it, right? But then the moment we leap, it's all about taking our feet off the ground, jumping so that we can reach greater heights. So the purpose of this discussion is, with where we are, what can we do now to prepare for the workplace so that we can continuously reach for those greater heights? And in doing so, throughout my discussion, I'll be talking about the 3 components that will help you reach these greater heights and leap. So all of these 3 components, they start with the letter M. So if maybe you also want to guess what it might be, start thinking. But I'll tell you the first one, and then maybe you can guess the other 2, right? So let's start with our first component. What is it? What is this component that can help us when it comes to really setting us up for success? The first one is mindset. And I think it ties in very well with what Aline was saying earlier on, as well as what Shamila was saying. So one of the things that I've noticed here is that when it comes to the people that are able to get these jobs and also maintain them, is that most of them are actually the ones that are quite resilient, right? And when it comes to resilience, as I wanted to explain to you, so the difference is, if something challenging happens to you, does it take 5 seconds for you to recover? Does it take 5 minutes? Does it take 5 hours? Or does it even take 5 years? Right? So that's how you think about resilience. It's all about, how quickly can I bounce back? So if you want to set yourself up for success when it comes to being able to transition into the workplace, that's the core element. We start with the mindset, right? And the key things there, it's definitely what I just mentioned. And I wanted to just conclude this section, our first component out of the 3 components, with a quote. So our first quote will have the 3 codes for the 3 sections. Our first code, and feel free to take a picture. I see others are writing it down. If you want to take a picture of it, you can take a picture of it. Our first code to wrap up the importance of mindset is whether you think you can or think you can't, you are right, which is the quote from Henry Ford. And in concluding our section on mindset, I want to remind you, literally, you know, people like talking about how people would apply for jobs where they only meet 20% of the requirements. So that's what I want you to already think. So now, whether you're in first year, second year, or final year, when you're seeing opportunities out there, when you are looking at something else you would like to do out there, always know that whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. It's all about just finding the way, right? So that's the first thing when it comes to leaping ahead. You have to have that self-belief, right, team? So now we are getting into the second M. Is there anyone that can guess what our second M is? Motivation is a good one. What's another one that you can think of? Mentorship. Ooh, this links to it, so I'll take it for now. So let's get into our second one. Our second one is mastery, right? It links to mentorship. We'll talk about it. It's mastery, team, and it's all about developing the skills that matter. Our topic is about what? Leaping ahead, being able to be ready and mastering this transition into the workplace. So what I want to focus on here is that as a young professional, you have to have some sort of a trade, right? So that means when you get into the workplace, you have to have something to offer, right? Yes, you have your degree. Yes, you'll have your postgrad and all of these things. But then it really all boils down to also in your spare time, what are some of the things that you're doing for lifelong learning, right? And are you aware of your strengths, your weaknesses, some of the things that you really have to work on to get to a point whereby you can even stand out? So as it pertains to mastery, some of the skills that are non-negotiable is definitely communication, completely non-negotiable. LinkedIn released a study at the beginning of the year. And remember, LinkedIn, almost all the employers are posting the vacancies there. And out of the top 10 skills, I think this was within the top 3 skills that the employers are looking for. So the employers are looking at, when it comes to business communication, where are you with your written communication? Where are you with your verbal communication? So if you really want to leap ahead, this is something that you should really take into account. And now you might be thinking, no, I'm good. I can speak. I can write. That's not what we're talking about. So for example, at Novalo, we work with a number of bursary funds. And most of them, you know what they always say, because we'll come through and we'll be like, oh, okay, we're excited to actually do study skills with you. And they'll say, in the first class, can you just teach the students how to write emails? Because they're sending us emails with no subjects. And others are even coming to our offices and they're talking to us as though they're talking to their friends. So they still don't know the difference between how do you communicate to your friend, you know, at the street, wherever you are doing your thing, and how do you communicate to another professional? This is something that we really have to learn. And in interviews, because I'm privileged enough to be in a position whereby, you know, in my previous employments, I've interviewed a lot of candidates, but currently now running Novalo as well, I'm always interviewing candidates. And when you have the right, and communication skills doesn't mean you have a twang, you have an accent, no. It just means, can you clearly articulate it, right? You've done something at varsity, can you articulate it so that we can give you this job that you're looking for? So look at that, team, right? Second one, adaptability. Currently, what are we doing to ensure? Because yes, we've been through COVID, and because you're sitting here, yes, you're able to adapt, I hope. But what are we really doing? Is there anything that we're doing so that we can improve on how we adapt when it comes to different situations? I was speaking to one of our colleagues who's actually currently a temp at Novalo. She's an industrial psychologist. And she said what she has realized is that, especially with the young people that are from the university entering the workplace, there's this difference between what you expected at work and the reality when you get there. So team, remember, it won't be, because people are doing day in their life on Instagram and TikTok, and sometimes it looks fancy. Sometimes others are even, complaining about how bad their managers are. But then at the end of it all, we all have to learn how to adapt regardless of how the environment is. I'm not saying stay at a toxic place or whatnot, but then at the same time, other people might be showing you their highlight reels, but they're not showing you the challenges. And then you get the first 3 months, only challenges. And then you're thinking, oh, but I thought I was just going to look pretty and say, ooh, outfit of the day, and then be on the laptop and just have a nice posture. But no, you are out there and they're saying you have to type all of this out, I don't know, up until 9 p.m. Plus you're in audit. Now you'll be talking to clients. They'll say, okay, you're in Pretoria, but then we need you to travel to Val to go get documents. I'm not sure where you'll be placed. But then what I'm saying is, if we want to leap ahead, we need to be in a position whereby we are comfortable with the fact that we need to adapt. Right, team? So that's the one. Let's look at what is the last one. Ooh, this is my favorite one. So advisory board. Companies have advisory boards. So what does it mean is that as a company, you're always thinking, oh, there are certain skill sets that I can't hire these people in my company now. So as a result, I'm going to ask them to be part of my advisory board, and I'll only meet them quarterly so that they can help me with their expertise. So now, what I'm offering for your consideration is, how about you have your own advisory board as a student? And what that looks like is that you're looking at yourself as a company or as an entity, and you're saying, if I'm going to leap ahead, I'm going to progress, who are the people that I need? And yes, secondly, I'm also a certified coach. I vouch for coaching. Coaching is very helpful. If you can get a performance coach, definitely, or even a career coach. But then there's the third one that sometimes we speak about, other times we don't always speak about. It's a sponsor, right? Who here is aware of what a sponsor is? A sponsor is a person that, just like Aline, just like Shamil, just like Tavis. So, these are like your sponsors. These are people who have influence in their spaces. And once they know what is your next step in your career and what you're interested in and what your strengths are, then in those rooms when they're looking for people, then they can say, no, but I know Dineo. No, I know Peter. Let me call this person from TUT. Mainly because you were clear in articulating your next steps in your career. So what am I saying there? What I'm saying is, when it comes to leaping ahead, and now as a student, even if you're in first year, already look at people around you, your lectures, people at church, people literally everywhere, and start having conversations with them. But then when you have the conversations, be very clear in telling them what your next step is. Like, I'm studying internal audit, and after 3 years, I would love to work for PwC, and this is why I love PwC. And then next time when Aline is sitting in a board meeting and there's a board members in PwC and they're like, oh, we are opening up applications for work, then Aline will be like, oh, we have about, those 2 girls at TUT that said they really want to come through. So I'd recommend they come through because they were also dressed up for our event and all of these other things, right? So think about it. Think about the people around you who can potentially be a sponsor, because that's the difference. Because so many people talk about, there's a lot of mentorship where we are all ready to give you advice, but when it comes to opportunities, where are those people for you, right? So look at that too, because leaping ahead is really all about that, right? But then before even we get to that, I just want to say, when you get into the workplace, all the feedback you're going to get will sound like a personal attack. And that's okay. I just want to end it. That's okay. It's part of growing. So as part of your advisory board, when it comes to the managers and the supervisors, and almost even when your lecturers are giving you feedback, sometimes it sounds like a personal attack. But then just think about it as, all of these people are giving me feedback so that I can be a better, entity as myself, right? So those are the things that we can consider as we are looking at mastery. And to close off our second component out of the 3 components of mastery is a quote from Albert Einstein, where he said, everyone is a genius, But if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it is stupid. Imagine, because a fish, I mean, it can only excel in water, right? Imagine expecting a fish to climb a tree. That's impossible. So what am I saying? What I'm saying, team, is that because now we want to leap ahead. We just don't want to walk in our careers, right? So what I'm saying is that if you want to leap ahead, especially considering this transition into the workplace, think about what are your strengths. There are a lot of free assessments online. Do an assessment to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, and actively work on strengthening your strengths even more. Because gone are the days whereby you can see that someone is gifted in something else, but then you just want them to focus on the other thing that they don't get, right? So work on that, because when you get into the interviews, when you get into the workplace, you'll be able to say, oh, but I've been doing this at school and I'm good at it because I've been doing X, Y, Z, and you can showcase, and this will help in leaping ahead. So team, those were our 2 M's. Who's gonna take the last one? So our last M is, did she say it? But you didn't say it out loud. Okay, so team, our last M is movement, right? It's all about take action and own your path. Because how are you going to make leaps if you don't know where you're going, right? We have to move. So that's why our first point here is that we need clear goals if we're going to take leaps and transition into the workplace. Where are you going? So for example, my colleague is here, Zanele, she's our marketing intern. When we get into one-to-ones, and even when I spoke to her when she was coming through, I keep on asking, where do you see yourself in the future? What would you like to do? Why? Because if we don't know what you would like to do, we don't know how we can help you. And your mom, your lecturer, your friend can't dream for you. Only you know what will work for you, right? So set those clear goals. Do you want to be an internal audit manager in 5 years? Do you want to be the CEO of the IIA in the next 20 years? What do you want, right? So let's be very clear, team. Write it down, because if it's not written, it's not going to happen. And definitely seeking opportunities. I gave you an example of how you can do that with sponsors, but then at the same time, Thabiso mentioned it. You have the institute. You guys are very lucky, hey? I think you don't realize how lucky you are. You are so lucky to have something like this, because other professional bodies don't do this. Don't tell my professional body I said that. But other professional bodies don't do this. You are very fortunate that you can have something like this. And as and when they're bringing out all of these opportunities, please do seek those opportunities. And then the last one, as we are wrapping up, the last one when it comes to moving ahead and taking action is fail forward. So the name of our company is No Valo Learning Center, which means no fear. And the reason why, because I'm the founder of the company, the reason why I came up with that name is because I got to a point whereby I realized that there are nice things on the other side of fear. Like, they are great, they are incredible things, they are sweet things on the other side of fear. But then the problem is that most of us are afraid of failing, right? So because of the fact that we're afraid of failing, then we don't take the steps to do what we need to do. We keep on thinking, no, I'll do it next year. Oh, I wanted to study. Oh, no, I'll do it next year. Oh, I wanted to do this. Or even study. Because remember, when it comes to studying, you have to practice more questions. And when you practice more questions and fail them, that is rejection, that is failing. So then, because that's not making you feel good, then you avoid it altogether. So Tim, what I'm trying to say here is that if we are going to get to a point where we are leaping ahead in our careers, we have to be very comfortable with showing up imperfectly and being at a point whereby we are comfortable with the fact that failure is part of the process, right? So as we conclude this last section of our presentation on movement, it's another quote by Steve Jobs where he said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards." So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. And I thought this was fitting as the last quote, mainly because when I was in first year, when I was in second year, when I was in final year, I wanted to see it. I wanted to see that, oh, what's going to happen? Am I going to be the best accountant ever, the best auditor ever? But then what I realized is that it's literally all about, taking the steps, working on your mindset, working on your mastery, keeping on moving, and being comfortable with failure, where you get to a point whereby later on you can connect the dots. So in closing, team, what I wanted to say is that, remember when I said my coach Adele did say, when you are 40 plus and someone is saying they're recognizing your potential, go in the room and cry. I hope with what we've discussed today, I hope with this entire conference and what the speakers have shared, I hope you'll get to a point whereby you have all of these tools and techniques that will help you just realize your potential, and we don't get to the point whereby you have to do that. So thank you, team. I will see
you. Today we were blessed to attend the IIA event in Tshwane University of Technology in Ga-Rankuwa.
What I've learned from today's presentation from Zanele.
She told us about the 3 components of leaping ahead, and the first one being mindset, the second one being mastery, and the third one being movement.
I've learned that you can't get opportunity only by just staying around. You must engage with people. You must learn to be able to express your emotion. You must answer all the questions.
Everything is on the other side of fear, meaning you must always take up space. You must not be fearful of anything, because you never know who's watching, and you never know, like, the more you learn, the more you take up spaces, the more you learn about your abilities and your capabilities.
Do not just relax, work hard as a learner or as a student so that you can achieve your dream.
Really, it was a privilege to learn from Zanele's presentation, and I'm really looking forward to be in a workplace in my environment. Thank you.